Friends, Cowboy Jobu here with the Jobu Report. Man, we are closing in on 4,000 subscribers. We're getting so close, I think we're only about 30 away. So if you haven't subscribed yet, click over here on the picture of me and Sean Lee. So that way you can get more of the Jobu Report. Speaking of Sean Lee, he is the Dallas Cowboys pick this year for Man of the Year. We'll see how he does at NFL Honors. But anyway, let's go on to First Take Dallas Cowboys, where of course they're always talking about the Dallas Cowboys. The question for the day is, should the Dallas Cowboys rest their players? I think not. Personally, I think you end up riding the momentum wave. But let's see what the jackasses have to say
Jerry
on First
and
Take.
your team, Will, America's team. Jerry, how do you feel about resting players down the stretch?
No, I see us more as business as usual. What it does allow you to do is when you've got guys on the fence with injury, not push them. But the other part of that is the obvious. You don't want to take the edge off. A football game is a part of a personality of the team, and you want that team to stay very physical as you enter these playoffs.
Max?
I mean, the issue in football is usually the team that starts is not the team that finishes. They change over time, due oftentimes to injury, but also chemistry, development of younger players, the older players, holding on through the attrition of the season and all of this. The Cowboys, though, have seemed to escape that this year. They've been the best team pretty much wire to wire, pretty much, not literally, but almost. And so I would say, while you have to balance the idea that some guys probably need rest and you want to do the right thing there, I think back to the Giants in 07. This is Super Bowl talk, so I know it's been a while for you. But
it's been more often, but maybe it's been a while.
Giants in 07 had a playoff spot sewn up. They were going to be the wild card. And the Patriots had an undefeated season going. They were the greatest team of all time in any American team sport, according to just about everybody. And Tom Coughlin said, I'm playing all these guys. I was like, you're crazy. Rest them, including me. I'm on New York radio going, what are you kidding? Rest the guys. He goes, nope, we got to ride this into the playoffs. And they lost a close game to the Patriots and then went through the playoffs on the road, beating teams like Brett Favre at Green Bay, and then beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And most people who follow that season point to that last game of the season. Now, the Cowboys aren't a wild card team. They don't need to catch lightning in a bottle. They got it already. But I would suggest be very careful about how they handle the end of this season. I would say just keep doing what you've been doing. It's been working the whole time.
Yeah, and here's the biggest difference is the Cowboys, if they continue on the streak, they'll have a bye week. So what's the point in resting your players if you're already going to have a built-in bye week where you're not playing in the wild card round? As you said, Max, the Cowboys have chemistry. They're pretty healthy. You always got to have a little luck. Why mess any of that up by, let's hold back guys and disrupt all that chemistry. I go back to the Green Bay Packers in 2011. They won 50. They were 15-1. The last game of the year, they played the Detroit Lions. They subbed out a lot of guys. Came back in the divisional round and lost to who? Your New York Football Giants in the divisional round. So when it comes to
they won the Super Bowl that year too, by the way, Will. That's a different Giants Super Bowl.
Am I hurting you right now?
Well, no, do we need to count them up? If we're gonna play this game, we can count them up.
In the last 20 years, go ahead.
Let's just count them up.
No, but so for me, I'm absolutely not. I'm totally opposed to sitting your guys and so on and so forth. Momentum is key when it comes to the postseason. Get in hot so you can ride it out.
I really do defer to the guy with the championship ring on.
I know, I do. It looks nice.
I believe in momentum. The data analyst guy over here probably thinks it's a myth, a creation of small minds like ours. But I believe in momentum. When you got something good, you keep it going. That being said, it seems like there are certain positions where the risk of injury is higher, where you could rest. I'm specifically talking about Ezekiel Elliott. Alfred Morris is a quality running back. He's nowhere on the level of Ezekiel Elliott. But as the season progresses, I'm not talking about sitting out entire games, but maybe another series or two per game where you're resting his legs. He's never played this many games before his entire career. He's fresh out of college playing 10, 12 games a year. Now he's looking at 16 plus a playoffs. It would seem to me, and this is where I'm actually disagreeing with Jerry Jones, there are players at positions where it might be advantageous as the season winds down towards the very end, where a couple extra series of game of rest would not only give Ezekiel Elliott fresher legs. It would give Alfred Morris, much like the Tony Romo conversation we just had, a little more warm-up going into the playoffs. Should he be called on, should something bad happen? Is that not something you think could be advantageous?
It could, but listen, you're talking about a rookie running back here. He should have fresh legs for the next few years. To me, that makes absolutely no sense.
And they're not touching him. No one's touching him.
He's getting through the line. He's not even getting contact for like 3 yards past the line of scrimmage. I mean, listen, he's not. The thing about Ezekiel Elliott, he's had a lot of touches, but he's had nowhere near like the all-time amount of touches that running backs have had in the National Football League. He's young. He can withstand this. There's no rookie wall. The only time the rookie wall comes about is when teams are losing. Then it's not only rookies, but it's veterans as well that start laying it down. So ride Ezekiel Elliott out.
Keep doing what you're doing. Look, the sample sizes, data analysts got, the sample sizes are tiny in football. Tiny. That's why people don't, anyone who tells you that they're sure about something in the NFL as though it's the NBA or Major League Baseball are lying to you. There aren't enough events that have occurred that you can really say for sure that's what happened. I talk about the Giants in 07, you talk about the Packers in 11, both Giants Super Bowl years, by the way, and where one team doesn't rest their guys and goes on to success, another team does rest their guys and it hurts them. It doesn't mean that every time that happens, it's perfectly reasonable to say, look, Dallas can rest a few guys, they still might win the Super Bowl. But when you look at examples, boy, it sure seems to me that when you got something good in the NFL, particularly late in the year, look, what was the fear of Dallas fans? Were I a Dallas fan most of this year, I'd be like, just don't let this be the peak. Let us peak at the right time. You got to ride this.
Troy Aikman, Hall of Fame quarterback, won 3 Super Bowls, by the way, with the Dallas Cowboys. He used to say, you don't just flip a switch at the end of the season. You don't go from a 3-game losing streak, limping into the playoffs, and start playing well. You don't flip switches. So I agree with you ultimately. You don't want to see a team shut down to a cold start right before you go in the playoffs. By the way, it's not just football. Sports where there's greater sample sizes, like basketball. We've seen the same thing, that you sit guys to 3 games going into your first series, and then you underperform in the first series. So I'm with you. I don't want to see a team drive it down into first gear before you got to be in 5th gear in the playoffs. I just think there are a couple positions where you don't sit the entire game. You don't sit even a half. But maybe instead of taking 2 series off a game, you take 3, 4. And those positions, like Ezekiel Elliott's, could benefit come playoff time, not just from a more ready backup, but from more fresh legs.
Fair enough. But first, we have the Giants on Sunday Night Football with no JPP, not looking good, Max. But that's another.